In 1947, a 24-foot scroll was discovered among many others in a cave in Qumran in the Dead Sea area, but this one was the most intact. It was the Book of Isaiah. How important is this book as a historical document? Sir Hans Sloane was an Irish-born British physician who collected objects from around the world that included plants, coins, medals, books, seals and manuscripts, and his important collection was the foundation of the British Museum. Established in 1753, it houses around 8 million works from all continents, making it the home of the largest and most comprehensive collector's item in existence. As you walk up the steps of this Greek temple-style architectural building, as you enter into the Assyrian Antiquities section, you will see the monolithic structures of the human-headed winged bull guardians. But as you keep on walking, you will see a carving on a wall of a king, and you will probably walk past its Assyrian monarch. But the book of Isaiah records his military endeavors, and he mentions Sargon, the king of Assyria, who fought against Ashdod and took it. Upstairs in the British Museum is a small carving of his grandson, King Esarhaddon, who is also recorded by the prophet Isaiah, who waged some very brutal wars in the Middle East. But Sargon's son and Esarhaddon's father is the most famous. Sennacherib, king of Assyria, came up against all the defense cities of Judah and took them. He is also on display in the British Museum, but his face has sadly been removed. Reading the Bible and say you have faith is one thing, but when you can walk into a building and see with your own eyes historical data that has been preserved in the earth for thousands of years and carved into stone in either Egyptian hieroglyphics or Assyro-Babylonian cuneiform, recording the exact same monarchs and events as the Bible in the exact time period as this battle scene of Sennacherib and his Assyrian army against Judah confirms, you would think that it would silence the critics. But some of them hate God so badly that even if the divine truths of the Holy Scriptures are staring them in the face, they harden their hearts and fight against historical facts. This Assyrian cylinder seal in the British Museum documents the tribute money of silver King Hezekiah of Judah gave to King Sennacherib of Assyria in 2 Kings chapter 18 verses 14 and 15. In late 2015, the public was made aware of a clay seal discovered in Jerusalem with the words belonging to Hezekiah, son of Ahaz, king of Judah, written in 8th century BC Hebrew. What may surprise people is that it features a two-winged sun disk with wings turned downwards with two ankh symbols on the left and on the right. But if you read the Bible, you realize that there were always pagan outside influences on the children of Israel. And these religious symbols can be traced to ancient Egypt, as this artifact in the British Museum confirms. But when the Assyrian army was invading Judah, though King Hezekiah pleaded to God and prayed with the prophet Isaiah for deliverance, he also looked for outside help, and he looked for military assistance from an African king. Strabo, the Greek philosopher, geographer and historian, recorded the military achievements of this African king. And Herodotus, the Greek historian who lived a number of centuries earlier than Strabo, though he did not mention the king by name, he recorded how his geopolitical campaign posed a threat to the Assyrian Empire. And in this book, Flavius Josephus, the 1st century Jewish scholar and historian, details and specifies the name of the king, building on Herodotus' works. In the 14th year of Hezekiah, king of the two tribes, Sennacherib, the king of Assyria, marched against him with a powerful and well-appointed army. He sent likewise to the prophet Isaiah to desire to intercede with the Lord for the abasement of the pride and power of the enemy in compassion to his people. But then one of two events occurred that would change the course of history. News was brought him that Taharka, the king of Ethiopia, was upon his march with a great enforcement to assist the Egyptians, and they took his way through the desert with a design to fall upon the Assyrians by surprise. Sennacherib was so startled at this report that he immediately drew off his army. Building on that foundation is a 2-volume set titled History of Ancient Egypt by Professor George Rowlandson, the Camden Professor of Ancient History at the University of Oxford. The immediate successor of Shabbatok appears to have been Taharqa, whom Manetho made the third Ethiopian king. The form of his name in Egyptian is Tahar or Tarak, which Manetho rendered by Tarakos and the latter Greeks by Terachon. His monuments are found at Memphis, at Medinat Abu, at Thebes, and at Napata. It is not probable that from Napata he exercised the supreme authority over Egypt even during the reign of Shabbatok, and it appears to have been with him that Hezekiah negotiated when the continued existence of Judea was menaced by Sennacherib. In the British Museum, in the Egyptian-Nubian section, is a bust of this African king from the Sudan, Taharqa, with the 2 serpents on his crown that represents his kingship over Egypt and Nubia. Very few history books have catalogued Taharqa's military triumphs, where he is almost obsolete among the annals of great kings. This military strategist with a strong army, like Caesar Augustus many centuries later, used his profits to launch a building campaign than any other pharaoh not seen since the Middle Kingdom in 1500 BC, where he restored temples, built new ones, and introduced a pagan renaissance, what scholars have called the Golden Age in the African desert, where he ruled from the River Nile to the Mediterranean Sea. These colossus pillars from the Karnak temple complex is dated from around 1900 BC, and the architecture is amazing. This was one of the most sacred spots in ancient Egypt, the temple being dedicated to the god Amun. The architectural design of the entrance porch to the temple was added by King Taharqa. The Lord appointed an angel to wipe out 185,000 men of the Assyrian army during a very intense battle, as recorded in Isaiah chapter 37 and verse 36. And Taharqa also played a critical role in defending the kingdom of Judah and preserving the Judaic kingship and messianic lineage of Shiloh, the lion of the tribe of Judah. And the prophet Isaiah, under inspiration, recorded Taharqa, king of Ethiopia, and his role in world history. The book of Isaiah records the kingdoms of Judah, Assyria, and Kush, Egypt. But unlike other books that keep you locked into the past, it looks to the future and prophesies a new eternal kingdom where there will be no more wars or conflict, where neither moth nor rust does corrupt, and where thieves do not break through nor steal. But I would like to ask a question. If the 17th century monarch King James VI of Scotland and the 1st of England wrote the Bible and used it to enslave blacks, according to black conscious circles, then why would he go through all that trouble to include an African king? We shall find out in this up and coming study, Black Consciousness versus Christ's Righteousness.